When it comes to calling out shitty business practices, Epic Games co-founder Tim Sweeney isn't automatically the first person you think of. And yet, in his keynote speech at the DICE Summit in Las Vegas, that's pretty much what Sweeney did. He condemned the practice of loot boxes, he said it was a harmful business practice, and that the game industry needs to decide what it wants to be when it grows up. Now, of course, Fortnite has itself faced a lot of stern criticism for its own business practices. Not just loot boxes, though Epic did change that in 2019. Any loot boxes found in Fortnite do show you what's in them before you open them. But even then, the Battle Royale mode, the most famous version of Fortnite, is still criticised for a haves and have-nots economy, pushing as it does premium cosmetic items that serve as status symbols to the point where children at schools get bullied for having default skins. This is all by design, of course. That's what cosmetic items are there for. They're a broadcast of status. They're a statement that this is what you can have if you've got the money for it. But anyway, let's not get too deep into Epic Games' foibles. We'll have plenty of time for that later, but suffice to say, Epic Games may not be the best example of companies that have non-harmful practices. Nonetheless, Sweeney was damning in his condemnation of loot boxes. He said in his speech, "We have to ask ourselves as an industry what we want to be when we grow up. Do we want to be like Las Vegas with slot machines, or do we want to be widely respected as creators of products that customers can trust? I think we will see more and more publishers move away from loot boxes." Well, yeah, but only because they're becoming politically untenable. I think we've already seen publishers, quite a few of them, move away from loot boxes, at least when it comes to putting them in mainstream AAA video games. But I don't think that's because the video game industry doesn't want to be like Las Vegas with slot machines. I think the video game industry would love to be like Las Vegas with slot machines. If you look at Konami, they're practically there already. I mean, I like that Sweeney is trying to shame the game industry, but I don't think Electronic Arts CEO Android Wilson is gonna hear this and say, "You know what, he's right. What have I been doing? Have we been the bad guys all along? What is it you humans call love?" I just don't think it's gonna happen. We should be very reticent of creating an experience where the outcome can be influenced by spending money. Loot boxes play on all the mechanics of gambling except for the ability to get more money out in the end. We have businesses that profit by doing their customers harm. I mean, welcome to 2016, Tim Sweeney. Some of us have been saying this for years. And he's not wrong. We can be cynical because it's Tim Sweeney, and he's from Epic Games, and, you know, Epic Games isn't all that great a company, but that doesn't mean what he's saying here is untrue. In fact, as I just pointed out, I've been saying this shit for years. The video game industry, not just with loot boxes, with microtransactions in general, have profited from doing harm. You can of course see our Jimquisition on the addictive cost of in-game monetization that talks about not just in-game gambling, but microtransactions as a whole and how they prey on a certain type of customer. And the predatory nature of these monetization models does extend to Epic Games. As I said, their skin-based economy, their skinonomy if you will, is all about broadcasting status, is all about broadcasting the idea that spending money in the game is the socially acceptable way of playing it, which is part of a suite of explicit manipulative business tactics in use in the game industry right now. And also, while on the subject of harm, we should point out that Epic Games is one of several companies accused of pushing its developers to the limit with unreasonable crunch periods, especially when it comes to working on Fortnite, an ongoing live service, an incredibly popular ongoing live service that, according to reports, demands an abusive level of work, with the implied threat that anyone who isn't committed to putting in an abusive level of work can be easily replaced. But I do concede what Tim Sweeney's saying here is true. Loot boxes are dangerous. Yes, the video game industry has a lot of businesses that profit from doing their customers genuine harm. And while Tim Sweeney's speech communicates the belief that the video game industry is better than this, is better than a Las Vegas strip, is better than a casino full of slot machines, I think the latter half of the 2010s demonstrated that the game industry is not better than that. When it comes to your big money mainstream AAA publishers, the likes of Electronic Arts and Activision and Ubisoft, prove that they have no scruples, they have no ethics, they have no morals, they have no desire to be an artistic medium. They do want to profit by doing harm. They do want to profit with slot machines as close to as they can get away with it. And the fact it's harder to get away with it is the only thing that has changed between 2016 and now. Loot boxes no longer represent the quick, easy, consequence-free source of exploitative monetization it once did, so publishers are losing interest. Sweeney says that the game industry has to decide what it wants to be when it grows up. I think the game industry is never gonna grow up. Not in the sense that Sweeney's talking about anyway. I've covered the video game industry for a long time, and I've witnessed an industry that never wants to take responsibility for its own flaws and fuck-ups, never wants to be held to account for the bad things it itself does. All the while acting like spoilt, entitled babies that think they deserve all of your money, more of your money than ever, for less and less content, for less and less product. And if they don't get it, they whine. And if a country says that loot boxes are gambling, they sulk. I mean, they've legitimately sulked these publishers in the past. Hell, when it comes to Belgium, Electronic Arts threw a full-blown tantrum and pledged to take this to court. It didn't in the end. That is not a mature industry. That is an industry that has never shown signs of maturity. I mean, the fact that this criticism is coming from Tim Sweeney speaks volumes. He talks about what the game industry wants to be when it grows up, while his own company faces criticism for its working practices. If that's the best that the industry has for a moral guardian, then Jesus Christ.